Hello, my fellow readers. It's I, Dark Symphony 777, with another random video. This is basically just going to be a placeholder for tomorrow's video. Hopefully, it's going to be the Daria fanfiction. I just wanted to do a video to try and get something out, and I saw this article, and I was like, I want to do a video on it. Now, the article's called Yu-Gi-Oh! The 15 Most Powerful Cards Ranked. And I happen to be a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! I've been playing the game on and off for about 20 years at this point. And I thought, this would be fun. So, let's get started. Next to Magic Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of the oldest and most popular collectible trading card games out there. Inspired by a manga series created by Kazuki Takahashi. Konami printed the first dual monster cards in 1999. Since then, the franchise has received numerous updates and expansions over the years. Yeah. Today we're going to look at the 15 of the best dual monster cards out there. We included some notorious cards on principle. We added other cards to the real-life tournament win rates and popularity. Finally, we added a handful of cards that even a diehard duelist won't expect. So, without further ado, it's time to decide which 15 Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards are the most powerful. Okay. Okay, so it looks like they're going to be adding cards based on history. Okay, so like a card, if a card is not powerful now, but was like powerful when it first came out, then I guess they're going to add it on based on how powerful it was when it came out, rather than how powerful it is now. All right, that seems fair, and there's an update. Let's see. Let's just okay. So all right. So it looks like they're just gonna do TCG cards because there's TCG and the OCG, and the OCG gets the cards first. And honestly, if they included the OCG, then probably Needle Fiber would be in here. Needle Fiber is a ridiculously OP card. Not even joking. I suspect that card's gonna be have one or two formats, and that thing's gonna go instantly banned. That's how good that thing is. Let's see. Number 15, Jinzo. Okay. Jinzo's fair. Like, when Jinzo came out, the thing was like, the decks pretty much went into who can summon Jinzo first. Like, that's pretty much, when he came out, that's pretty much was the deck. Get Jinzo on the field first, and you pretty much win. Unless your opponent deals with Jinzo, like spot removal or something like that. Okay, let's read it. At first glance, you might not think much Jinzo. He's got relatively unimpressive stats, and he looks like a bargain bin version of Pinhead from the Hellraiser franchise. Yeah, you're not wrong with that one. In reality, Jinzo was once such a powerful card that nearly every duelist ran him in their decks. Which is true, like I said. When he came out, decks pretty much just became who can summon Jinzo first. That's pretty much whoever summoned Jinzo first won, more or less. You see, Jinzo possessed the insanely OP ability to negate almost every trap card in the game. Unless your opponent possessed one of the Jinzo's few counters, they effectively be powerless to stop him and his persistent board dominating effect. Jinzo proves that you should never judge a book or Yu-Gi-Oh card by its cover. Okay, I can see Jinzo being on this list from a historical standpoint. It makes sense. I mean, nowadays, unless you're going against very specific decks like Altergeist, then Jinzo's not really useful. Mainly because Jinzo's power creep to hell and back. Mainly because no one really runs traps anymore. You have to be it has to be a very, very good trap, like something like Infinite Impermanence or Evenly Matched, or you're probably running a deck that needs to play trap card like Paleozoics or Altergeist or True Kings, but True King can kind of circumvent that because they just straight up destroy their trap cards. Yeah, they have the field spell and they just straight up destroy the trap. Just have a side deck option Jinzo for Altergeist. 14 Elemental Hero Straws. Yeah. This makes sense. Stratos is yet another OP monster who might isn't apparent just from looking at him. He's got 1800 attack, 300 defense, and 2 big old CD player wings glued to his back. I mean, the joke is corny because they kind of true, but not really. Oh. In the wrong hand, Stratos will do very little to change the course of any given duel. In the right hand, however, Stratos possesses an ungodly amount of utility. He can specifically search any other hero monster in your deck, or he can destroy your opponent's spell and trap card. Stratos was such a powerful card that he was banned from competitive play in 2013. And what's even worse, this guy was actually on the eliminated list for a long time. I believe Stratos came out in 2007, 2008, around that point, and this guy was just such an unholy beast. Like, he was like immediately put on the list. He wasn't banned. He wasn't banned until 2013, but I believe like since 2008, he was actually on the list. He was pretty much limited until 2013, where he's still just so good that they just decided to broke him, and then he became a meme like, "Free my boy Stratos, Stratos, my boy. We gotta free him." And literally, when he was unbanned, that was literally like the single most happiest moment of like the entire fan base's time, because he was just so good. He's still good, unlike Jinzo, who was power crept to hell and back. The moment Stratos got unbanned, yeah, hero players just completely just put him in their decks like immediately, because he's just that good. Because he does everything. In fact, there's like multiple hero decks. There's elemental heroes. There's vision heroes. There's evil heroes. There's destiny heroes. There's like one other mask heroes, but that's extra deck. But so basically, he's just such an engine on himself. That's how good he is. And the Solemn Trap removal is like a bonus. But most people just use him for the searching, because seriously, that is just ridiculous levels of searching with how many hero cards there are in the game. They're like, if you count like all the hero cards, that's like, not counting the extra decks, that's like 50, that's like 40, 50 cards. That's just crazy. Number 13, Confiscation. Okay. Whether or not you win or lose a game in a card game, you probably won't have a severe case of sour grapes if you felt like you had a fair shot at winning. You managed to play all your cards and implement your strategy, but your opponent simply outplayed in the end. Fair enough, you can hold your head high and genuinely tell your opponent good game. What feels bad when you're playing a CCG is not having a chance to fight at all. For 1,000 points, Confiscation can rob your opponent of a fair game by forcing them to discard a card of your choice. Confiscation was such an fun card to play against that it was banned from the competitive scene. Thing is, I believe Confiscation is actually still banned. But I think at this point, it's power crept to the point that you can reasonably take it off the ban list. Because if I remember right, let's see. I'm actually on the app right now. It's oops. Confisc. D-I-O-N. Okay. No, that's... Okay. Yeah, it's still banned. Basically, pay 1,000 life points, look at your opponent's hand, then select one card in it and discard. Most of the time, nowadays, it's not even banned because of the discard effect, because so many cards because the graveyard is now effectively a second hand or deck. No, it's still banned because of you look at your opponent's hand. Like, if Konami makes a card that allows you to literally look at your opponent's entire hand, they can play around. Then you're pretty much giving away all their information. And sure enough, pretty much all the time, when your opponent, if any card that comes out that looks at your opponent's hand, is going to be banned, like almost immediately. But it's like, you could probably put this up at 1 simply just to see what happened, like what they did with equip spell, Snatch Steal. Like, basically what happened was Snatch Steal was an opponent, you pay 800 life points, and you basically take an opponent's monster, and they immediately banned it. And it's like they decided on a whim to unban the card to 1, saying, maybe people won't use it, and literally everyone started using it to the point they just rebanned it to literally the next format. So yeah, I can see in the future them just bringing it to 1 just to see what might happen, and then if it turns out to be a problem card again, they just immediately ban it the next format. I don't see no problem with this one being on the list. This is still a good broken card. Say number 12, Cyber Dragon Infinity. I have a problem with. Let's see what it says. Unlike a lot of other cards in this article, Cyber Dragon Infinity looks and sounds as overpowered as it is. The stinking thing looks like a hidden super boss from a fantasy game. Yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, it does look like something you see in Final Fantasy. That'd be pretty cool. I would actually love to see an actual RPG in Yu-Gi-Oh! I know they actually made an RPG called the False Kingdom. I would actually love to see an actual sort of like open world RPG where they have like every single Yu-Gi-Oh card, like in 3D models. I would love to see this thing in 3D. I would love to see Infinity in 3D. That is so freaking good. Okay. It also has the word infinity in its name, as in I got an infinite number of ways to beat the brakes off your decks. That's kind of true. While this might be an exaggeration, Cyber Dragon Infinity is one of the strongest dual monsters to ever play. Infinity gobbles up other monsters and adds their stack to his own, making a mathematical monstrosity that most players simply don't have the answer to. I would like to add something to this card because the author didn't really talk as much information about this card like other ones. This one seems very forced to include. For one thing, it's a level 6 level 6 light machine monster that requires 2 like level 6 light machine monsters, which there is literally none, like next to none of. Like I believe there's like two or three other light machine monsters that are like pretty much useless in Cyber Dragon decks. Most people would use this thing by summoning 2 Cyber Dragons, then exceeding into Cyber Dragon Nova, then immediately overlaying, ranking up into this thing. And another effect this thing has is this card negates. If your opponent plays any card, like any card effect, spell, trap, or monster effect, okay, then this thing can remove a material and negate the attack. It's only once per turn. But this is probably the first one I have genuine confusion with, because this card is actually it's strong, but I wouldn't really say it's among the strongest. There are actual stronger Xyz monsters like Super Quantum Great King Magnus or Libe. There's also Seven Sins. Let's see. There's also Augusto Emerald, Lavarro Chain. Like you could easily put Lavarro Chain in there because the thing's still banned. That one heroic Xyz that takes like 5. You can easily Xyz with like 5 4-star monsters and literally just win the game on its own. You can easily do that. I mean, yeah, you pretty much have better options than Infinity. Like I said, Infinity is not a bad card. It's really, really the thing he mentions right here is it Infinity Goggles. Basically, its other effect is once per turn during your turn, you can target one attack position monster your opponent controls and attach it to this card as material. That's actually a really good effect. But it's just an easy card to play around. That's like the main problem with Infinity is it's easy to play around. Like if you have a good enough hand, you can easily just either hit this with like Dark Color no more, or I know I use Melodious, like if I get a special summon Arya on the field, yeah, this card ain't gonna do shit to her. Because one thing, you can't Cyber Dragons are pretty much an attack focused deck. They don't have a lot of negation, or they don't have a lot of disruption outside of this guy. Like, this is literally the only reliable way of disruption and negating. They're mainly just overpower your opponents and just completely just wreck their shit. But if Arya the Melodious Diva, if she's special summoned, your opponent cannot target monster. Melodious monsters cannot be targeted, which means they're against a Cyber Dragon deck. As long as you manage to go Earth, like, then you have an easy way out for Infinity. It's not bad. I wouldn't put it on this list though. Like I said, there are better Xyz monsters out there, but it's not bad. I can see some reason for someone to put it up here, but it's not bad. Still see plays tons of days, but it's really just Cyber Dragon card. I see. Next one, Dark Strike Fighter. Oh no. OTK means one turn kill in the CCD world. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll defeat your opponent on the first turn per se. However, the ultimate goal of all OTK decks is to achieve your win condition on one turn. Typically, OTK decks are extremely risky and require a ton of skills and to effectively play. This isn't the case with Dark Strike Fighter. This bulky douchebag commits two major offenses. It assaults the senses with its boop brown color scheme that it wrecks players' faces by dealing damage equal to the level of monsters that you have to sacrifice, times 200. With the proper setup, Dark Strike Fighter could OTK players very early on in a match. This is actually a very broken card when it first came out. Problem is, this thing was nerfed. Like, I believe it was hit with a hard once per turn. I believe it was actually I think it's at 3. Let me see. I know it was hit with a errata. Let's look. Let's see. Dark Strike. Yeah, let's just do that. Dark Strike. Yeah, it's full. Yeah, it says it says during your main phase 1, and it's a hard once per, and it's a soft once per turn. So this one's kind of really weird because when it came out, this thing was just a ridiculous OTK machine. Like, this was when it first came out, like, entire decks were put around just getting this guy on the field and special summoning as many monsters as you're able and OTKing your opponent. It got to the point where duels basically became summon Dark Strike Fighter first, you win. Like, you can't summon whoever summons him first. It was like the same thing with Jinzo earlier. Summon this guy and then you win. And then this guy was just put on the ban list for years, and then they just gave him nerfed him to the point that he's borderline unplayable. Like, you pretty much just summon him and then sacrifice him and then burn your opponent for like 1400 damage. But it's like unreliable. You can easily just go for Cowboy for game faster. I actually can't see this guy on the list simply because nowadays he's not really broken. He's just pretty much just there. But back in the day, I can kind of see him. Like with Infinity, I can kind of see a reason why he would be on this list. Because he was really good when he was first brought out. But now it's just a catch-22. Now, like, nowadays he's useless. When he first came out, he was strong. He was really, really good. Not to mention, like, usually when you have a reliable OTK deck, like, more often than not, they're just gonna completely ban the cards, like, or like there's no hesitation. I see. Next one, Dark Hole. Bullshit. Okay. Wise man once said, "Simplicity is the simplest of sophistication." In the realm of CCGs, this age-old adage often rings true. Most of the other cards in this article require tons of effort to properly use, or necessitate immense amounts of technical skill from the duelist who plays them, or both. In the case of some extremely OP cards, however, the opposite is precisely what makes Dark Hole such a terrifying spell card. You don't need to be the greatest duelist to ever play the game, nor do you need to set this card up. You simply play Dark Hole and do exactly what its flavor text says. You destroy all monsters in the field in one fell swoop. It's kind of a weird one because this was very much a thing of like it was probably one of the single strongest cards in the game, like at the beginning, up until Synchro started happening. So that's like Synchro started in like 2008, 2009, around that point. So yeah, for a long time this thing was very strong. Like it still sees some use. Like more people would just use Raigeki nowadays. Part of the reason why this thing is limited and Raigeki is no, Raigeki is limited. This thing's unlimited because this thing just can screw you over as badly as anything. Like, let me double check. I think it's unlimited. Yeah, it's unlimited. It's unlimited. Like this thing, like I can see Raigeki easily being replaced with this thing because it's basically just Dark Hole, but it's only for your opponent's monsters. And I believe Raigeki was released around the same time Dark Hole was, so I don't really see this card being on this list because you could easily just replace it with Raigeki, which is an all-around better card than Dark Hole. Now, granted, Dark Hole is unlimited, so you can have 3 copies, and Raigeki is basically just 1 copy. But it's an overall better card that easily could have been just replaced by Dark Hole. No, that easily could have replaced Dark Hole. Like I don't see any reason this card being on this list. I don't. Like you can kind of. I mean, I can kind of see the logic with Dark Strike Fighter and Infinity, but I can't see any logic with Dark Hole because Raigeki is literally a thing that is just simply a better Dark Hole. Okay, let's continue. Number 9, Solemn Judgment. So Solemn Judgment is one of the Yu-Gi-Oh cards that got banned due to overuse. The funny thing is that this card didn't really see much play early on. Solemn Judgment allows you to negate an opponent's monster summoning or spell activation once. The catch is you have to pay half your life points to make it work. Most players initially wrote Solemn Judgment off. Why bring yourself closer to defeat just to stop one play? But a few players realized Solemn Judgment's potential and kept using it. Before long, Solemn Judgment users could shut down mass summoning players and OTKs with just 1 card. No, this didn't just negate monster summoning or spell. No, it was an omni negate. It literally negated everything. This thing was banned. If this card wasn't banned, it was 1. That's how powerful this thing is. Once people started figuring out this thing was that powerful, it immediately got hit with the ban list. It is just that good, and I believe it's actually unlimited. Like I believe this card. No, there. Solemn. I believe this card is actually unlimited. Yeah, this card's actually unlimited. This thing was on the ban list for literally one of the longest cards to be on the ban list. That's how broken this thing was. Because literally just hit Omni Negate to anything. Like if you find out what your opponent's playing, you can easily just negate it at the worst time, leaving your opponent with like nothing they can do. Even worse, if you're playing counter fairies, which means you can easily just omni-negate everything, and then plus off that. Because you have like Guiding Arian Beam, which actually allows you to play counter traps without paying life points or discarding, which means which instantly caused this card to become a free negate. Like you didn't have to do anything, you just had to just play the card. And counter traps are currently one of the few types of traps that see play, simply because, for one thing, they're usually the most powerful because they're usually just an automatic negate or disruption. And 2, counter fairies exist. Like they're just that good. And Judgment was like the king. Like they made like a bunch of offshoots because because this thing was so powerful, but people still wanted to play it, so they made like Solemn Scold, Solemn Warning, and Solemn Warning got hit on the list too. So I can easily see Solemn Judgment being on the list. I have a feeling that Konami made a bad move putting this thing at 3, like immediately moving it from like banned to 3. I could just easily see this backfired, especially for counter fairy decks. Oh my god. They would have a field day with this thing. Totally, oh no. Oh no. Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't even have to hesitate to say this thing. This thing is disgusting. Let's see what this says before I talk about it. This Yu-Gi-Oh card might look silly, but it has a strong negation properties. Totally Awesome has the unique ability to stack Xyz material during the standby phase. With a bit of know-how, a duelist can then set up your opponents later in the match. Next time your opponent tries to activate a spell or trap card, you can negate it. Totally Awesome is more balanced than most on the other cards on the list. As strong as it negates from powers are, they only work once per turn. Totally Awesome is also very easy to target and take out of the game, at least in comparison to other monsters. No, you're simplifying. You are simplifying how freaking broken this card is. Like, this card easily deserves to be on this list. First off, just like Solemn Judgment, this thing's an Omnigate. You just need to tribute an Aqua monster to activate it. And honestly, during the standby phase, when you send them a material, you basically set the special summon a Toad. And not only do you omni-negate anything, you can steal that card from your opponent onto your side of the field. So, yeah, and that's not even the worst part. When this thing's sent to the graveyard by card effect or battle, it gets recovery. Like when it's sent, you get any Aqua type monster from your graveyard and bring it back into the deck, which means this thing has self-recursion. This thing can easily put itself back in the deck to be used over and over again. And it's a freaking frog card. The frog engine is one of the most broken engines in the history of the game. It's still pretty much broken. They made this card so that way frogs actually have a boss monster, and this is a boss monster to end boss monsters. This thing is that freaking broken. That's how good this thing is. And it's like, the only reason this thing's not banned is because it requires 2 level 2 Aqua monsters, which is pretty much frogs and nothing else. If this thing was flashable with more decks, this thing would probably be on the ban list. Like, they banned, there was another Aqua type monster whose effect is basically you detach a material and you get the special summon an Aqua type monster from your X deck. They use that guy to summon this guy, and instead of banning Toad, they ban the other guy. They basically just hit the island. No. This guy's not the problem. This guy's the problem. We're gonna ban him. So yeah, I could see this guy. No hesitation. This guy is just so freaking. Actually dueled against someone using this card. Most freaking annoying thing to do. This thing was just disgusting. Oh my god. Next card. What? Really? You go from this thing to this to a joke. Why? Let's see what it says. This Yu-Gi-Oh card proves that big things can come in small packages. On her own, the White Princess isn't too strong. However, she can reduce the attack power of all enemies' monsters to 0 once combined with the right cards. To be more specific, White Princess becomes an absolute terror when she teams up with Skull Servant and King of the Skull Servants. By triggering her effect, a player can shut down even the machine cards and declaw the deadliest dragons. Most White Princess, King of the Skull Servant decks tend to win, have very high win rates across the board. The caveat is it takes a lot of skill to use. Yeah, this one's a lot. Yeah. The problem is, a white deck is literally a deck that revolves around making sure King of the Skull Servant, you have a lot of these white cards in the graveyard, and you get a King of. It's basically just a simple OTK deck, which means literally any negation can work on them. Like, And don't get me wrong, this card is good. Like, especially in a Skull Servant deck, like, this card is actually one of the key cards in the deck. One of the 3 key cards, along with King and Lady in White, because Lady in White protects all your King from destruction and card effects. So I can easily see Lady in White actually being better, more fitting than this. Like, because this one just lowers attack points while Lady in White protects what is supposed to be the key card in your deck. I mean, Lady in White was like literally, this card does not deserve to be on this list. For one thing, Lady in White is right there, right next to it. Second thing, there are much better zombie cards in general, like Uni-Zombie, or the guy I like to actually call Douche King Baldrock, because he's a douche. Like, literally, look up Doom King Baldrock, and you tell me how broken that thing is. Like, that thing is just disgusting. That card is disgusting. That card should be on this list, not White Princess. But let's continue. We're getting right back into cards that deserve to be on this list now. This Beast of a Dragon type card is a good deck just keeps on giving. Not only does it look like something that flew off the cover of Judas Priest album, I'll see it, but Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon is also crazy strong. If you banish one face-up dragon card, you can summon Red Eyes once per turn. And talk about this guy, not Red Eyes in general. In turn, Red Eyes can special summon any dragon from the graveyard. That's actually oversimplifying it. You can actually special summon any Darkness Metal. Like, I believe you can actually special summon any... Yeah, special summon a dragon type from your hand or graveyard. You didn't say hand. The catch is you can only have one Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon in your deck, which is true. It's limited. No, Red Eyes can't special summon itself from the graveyard. An experienced duelist can play multiple cards with this Metal Menace. An experienced player will at least have a cool card to lose with. Here's the thing. This is one of those cards that a lot of people have been for years actually want to see on the ban list, like actually banned, because even at 1, this thing's just a massive annoyance, because it's not restricted to what dragon it is. Like, it's just a dragon. So if you have like an incredibly powerful dragon monster in your graveyard or in your hand that you can't summon normally, this thing will just pop it out immediately. Like, that's how like any kind of heavy dragon combo deck use this guy. Like, the reason Guard Dragon and Guard Pain was banned was because of this guy completely just basically making the entire combination a thing. Like, I can see a Guard Pain being on this list as well, but Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, yeah, this thing really deserved to be on the list. Honestly, this thing deserves to be banned. Like, honestly. First off, dragons have like way too many options. Second off, this thing is just way too easy to get out in this meta. Like, you have so many plays you can do with this thing. It's just crazy. Still makes me wonder why Konami just haven't up and banned this guy yet. Like, yeah, it's limited, but if people are still using it, like, if it's a dragon deck coming out, people are still gonna use it no matter what. Like, just why bother leaving it limited? Just ban the damn thing. Number 5, Winged Dragon of Ra. Why? Egyptian god cards are some of the most powerful in Yu-Gi-Oh! By default. The Duel Monsters manga and anime went to great lengths to display how powerful these beings are. The Winged Dragon of Ra is a top customer. For years, he's graced the tournament scene with his divine presence. His aid also doesn't come cheap by any stretch of the imagination. To summon Ra, you have to sacrifice 3 tributes. Once Ra enters the arena, other cards and effects can activate for a time. As a test to one's devotion, Ra demands that a duelist use their life points to fuel his power. If you transfer 1,000 life points to Ra, he'll instantly destroy any monster. The problem is, most people didn't they used Ra, just not this Ra. They used the spear mode. I can easily see Spear Mode being on the list. The problem is, I think this author kind of mistook Spear Mode for the actual Winged Dragon of Ra. Like, don't get me wrong, Winged Dragon of Ra, out of all 3 Egyptian gods, this was the one I actually saw play simply as a counter card to Spear Mode. So that way, you know, if you know your opponent's running Spear Mode, and you had some way to get you had Winged Dragon of Ra in your deck, you could just tribute it and get a 4K beater on your grave, and you got rid of the Spear Mode. So, you know, I kind of see why, but I honestly think that the author just meant to put Spear Mode on the field, because what Spear Mode does is it's basically the same summoning requirement. 3 monsters on your field, or you can summon it to your opponent's side of the field for 3 monsters on your opponent's side of the field. Like, you can tribute your monster. That was a great spot removal, because literally, unless you're playing like something like Mask of Restrict, those monsters are gonna go, no matter how hard you try. Doesn't matter what. It was gonna go. They were gonna go. Getting rid of 3 monsters is really good. Spear Mode still sees play. Like, granted, it's kind of superseded by Nibiru, but it's still a good card. But I just don't see the regular Winged Dragon. Yeah, no, I don't see this one being there. Remember how I said earlier with where Cyber Dragon Infinity, how there was much better Xyz monsters? Yeah. Here's number 1. Here's number 2. This Yu-Gi-Oh! Card is as overpowered as his name is overly long. It's like someone at Konami was angry one day and decided to make a card that immediately kills the fun of any duel one played. If you're dueling against a friend and you whip up this card, you might as well find yourself re-rebelling in your relationship. God. Super Quanto King Great Magnus takes a lot of effort to put into play. A player has to sacrifice 6 or more materials before their opponent can beat them. Should they succeed, said duelist will get a rank 12 infinite machine that prevents enemies from adding cards to their hands. As a bonus, it looks like a mech from Power Rangers. The entire Quanto archetype is based off trying to turbo this guy as fast as possible. This card was so powerful, it actually created the Brilliant Fusion engine, because this card was so good that a couple players found out that you can use the Brilliant Fusion to get Seraphonite and Garnet and stuff like that to turbo this guy out using their field spell, because this guy's a rank 12, but all of the Super Quantum monsters are ranked like 3, I believe ranked 3, 4, and 5, and you basically have to get the 3 Xyz monsters plus the field spell out on the field and destroy that to summon this guy, and instantly you have literally a near unbeatable monster. Like, literally, if you can get this guy on the field, nothing short of a kaiju is gonna take it out. Like, I'm not even joking. You have to kaiju it, otherwise you pretty much lost. This guy has 4,000 attack points, so this guy is not easy to get over by any means. Yeah, this guy more than is worthy of being on this list, because this guy is just that powerful. Not to mention, he caused a creation of an entire engine, plus an actual term being used among the community, i.e. Garnet. For those of you who don't know, a Garnet refers to a card that is actually dead in the hand. That's actually referred to the Brilliant Engine, which takes monsters from the deck and puts them in the graveyard. And most people just rent a single copy of Gem Knight Garnet to facilitate that. They basically had 1 Garnet and 3 copies of Brilliant Fusion, so that way you have the most chance of getting Seraphonite on the field. You play Brilliant Fusion, you send Garnet and a single light monster on the field to the graveyard, you summon Seraphonite, and you start making plays to try and get this guy out on the field. That's how it started. And then the Brilliant Fusion just became just a big influential thing that even like the latest ban list, they actually banned the card outright because that card was too good for too long. Like Darkness Battle Dragon. People have been wanting to see this Brilliant Fusion on the ban list for so long because that thing was still broken even at 1. That was just crazy. And this guy legitimately is a beast. If you can get this guy on the field, you pretty much won the game. Especially if you get that max requirement of materials out. Like you pretty much had no way out short of a kaiju to get rid of this guy out. Yeah, I could see that. Exodia the Forbidden. Yeah, I can kind of see that. It was the first win condition. At the beginning of this article, we briefly brought up the term OTK. For those of you who don't know, it's an acronym that stands for one turn kill. Entire decks exist for the sole purpose of reaching their win conditions as soon as possible. Others drag matches out and aim to stall for as long as possible. Exodia, the Forbidden One, is the king of OTKs in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe. He isn't one card, rather he's split up into 5 separate pieces. If a duelist can assemble all 5 parts before their opponents can beat him, Exodia will instantly end the game. Exodia is to Yu-Gi-Oh! What Magnus is to the MCU. Yeah, I can, like... There's a reason why literally all the pieces of Exodia are one copy, because this guy is actually very powerful. Like, one of the first... This guy actually spawned the Forbidden Limited list. They weren't banned, but him and a bunch of other cards were actually led to the creation of the Forbidden Limited list. Like, the original Forbidden Limited list would do is you can either have only 1 or 2 copies. All the pieces of Exodia are limited. You can only hold 1 copy of them per turn. Or at least I think it's all... I believe the head might be unlimited, I think it's literally just the head that might be Exodia. Oh, no. Yeah, it's all the pieces. All the pieces are limited, which means you have... And so, Exodia became the very first FTK, OTK deck. Like, not only was it OTK, it was the very first FTK. Basically, FTK means first turn kill, which means you win the duel in the first turn. It wasn't as, like, you had Pot of Greed, you had Grace and Charity, you had all these draw cards, and as the game went on, they kept adding more very good draw cards, like Card V, Pot of Extravagance, Pot of Pot of Duality. You had all these cards that basically just constantly allowed you to draw and stall, and you pretty much couldn't do anything. You really couldn't do much of anything. Because if you don't have any sort of negates and your opponent can't draw anymore, you pretty much want to do it. But if you can get the draws and not be negated, then they pretty much won. Like to this day, the Exodia pieces are still on the list. Like, they're still limited because it's an OTK that's reliant on a alternate win condition that most people is really hard to do. So this one deserves to be on the list. Aclefort Towers. Oh, yeah, there's another one. Aclefort Towers is another Yu-Gi-Oh card that comes straight off the ban list. Yeah, it was recently taken off the ban list. Towers can't be special summoned and demands the blood of 3 Cleefort monsters. If a duelist manages to pay the high cost, however, they'll earn a Wrecking Ball of a machine. Immunity is what makes Aclefort Tower so overpowered. It can resist the effects of most spell and trap cards with ease. It is also immune to effects of any monster with a lower level than itself. AT is a level 10 card. For edit context, most monsters cap out around level 12. Link monsters eventually help even things out. One thing it actually didn't add was a lower level or rank from itself. Because Xyz monsters are ranks, and other monsters are levels. Not only that, but at the end of every one of your, I believe it's either your turn or your opponent's turn, your opponent has to send a monster to the graveyard. Just not even just send the monster, just not even destroy it or target it. No, it just sends it. So the longer this thing stays on the field, the more resources you're losing, hopefully trying to make a comeback to get rid of this guy. Like, granted, Link monsters completely just say fuck off with this guy, but that's beside the point. This thing was a beast, and is actually still really, really powerful. It was... When Cleefort's were first introduced, this was the boss monster. Just like earlier in the list when I said most decks revolved around like summoning Jinzo first or summoning. What was the other guy first? Or the other guy? Or Dark Strike Fighter first. When Cleaveforge were at the top, it basically became who can summon towers first. That's basically how freaking broken this guy was. And number one, last, yep. What a fitting way to end this list with an alternate win condition that's actually good and actually still on the ban list. I'm not joking. This thing's on the ban list. You're near the end of the heated duel with a very skilled opponent. Via a series of top-tier plays, they drained your life points below the 1,000-point threshold. Things aren't looking good for you at all. Most of your best monsters are chilling in the graveyard, and you're all out of spell and trap cards. Without a doubt, your opponent's next turn will be your last. Then you draw this insanely powerful card. Last turn, you choose one of your few remaining monsters, banish all of the cards to the graveyard, and allow your foe to special summon a monster as well. And if you choose a monster that prevents special summons, then you instantly win the game. That's why this card is banned, because there is cards like Galgan the Spiritualist and Pachycephalo Dinosauria that basically just automatically wins you the duel. Like, if it's on the field and you activate this, yeah, you automatically win. That's why this card is banned, because there's so many situations where you can prevent your opponent from special summoning, from actually winning. Like, if you special summon a monster, like if I use this in Melodious and I summon an Aria, you know, like the effect specifically calls for whichever monster is destroyed loses the duel. The duelist who controls the destroyed monster, but Aria prevents monsters from being destroyed by battle. So that creates a situation where no one technically wins. And also, if your opponent is playing like a combo heavy deck, you can easily use. There's just so many ways to abuse the crap out of this card, like self-destruct button. Like, there's so many ways you can abuse that card that you can just troll, and cause a tie. It's pretty much the same thing with this card. This card is not broken. I see no reason to have this card on this list. Comments. Can't wait to see to tear this list apart. This person obviously doesn't play. Where's Firewall Dragon or Load? I don't. Yeah, these two are good too. Like, I get like you were doing a more historical thing, but even then, there's like some cards that like why are on the list, like Dark Strike, Dark Hole. Why is this thing on the list? White Princess. Why is this thing on the list? Wayne Dragon Ult. Why is this thing on the list? Because they were just simply better cards that just do the job but better. I mean. And even then, you can kind of make an argument for Dark Strike Fighter and Infinity. Like, these two cards are good. This card was once good. I do think that the author was taking at least some history of the game into account. But even then, there's just some why is like some of these cards even on the list. Like, if I had to get rid of any cards and leave it and actually replace it with other cards, like I would get rid of Infinity, replace the thing with like something like the Dragon Rulers. Dark Strike Fighter, replace that thing with keep Dark Strike Fighter for historical purposes. Dark Hole, replace that with like Raigeki or Spellbook of Judgment. If you're gonna have the ultimate spell card, have like literally the single most broken spell card in the history of the game in Spellbook of Judgment or Pot of Greed. Like, if you're gonna go for the simplest good, could have just put Pot of Greed. It literally just draws 2 cards. It's still broken. It's still on the ban list. White Princess, you literally could have put like any better zombie card in the history of the game. Baldrock, Necro Dragon, Baldrock. like literally Baldrock. Or you could have put Nibiru, like for like Raw. Like, there's so many other cards. I do agree that I think Firewall Dragon should have been on the list. I do think, for the most part, this is actually a pretty good list. It's just some of these choices are just completely baffling. Why? 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 Why is this card here? Why is this card? Seriously, honestly, this is like the worst card choice you could have put for zombies. Any other card would have been better than this thing. Lady in White would have been better than this thing. Like a lady. She's right here. She's right there's lady. There's a lady right there. She's right behind. You had a better choice for this. So this has been Dark Symphony 777, and this was just a fun little video that I wanted to do, just to hold over for the Daria fic that I'm doing at very minimum tomorrow, unless something happens. So a bit of Dark Symphony 777, and cut.